like this. Now, you all know, if you've watched this before, you know you can expect maybe, I have been known to cry. I have been known to spit soda out my mouth. I don't have anything to drink right now, so that's a good thing. And we've been known to laugh on here, cry, and laugh again. So you never know what's in store for you tonight, but I want you to meet Coach Ty. And Ty, I want you to first start off by just, giving them a little bit about who Coach Ty is today, who you are as a woman, as a mom, as a phenomenal boss, entrepreneur, as who you are today. And then take us on a journey down memory lane of when you can first recall trauma entering your life, and as far back as you want to go, and as much as you want to talk about that you're comfortable talking about and sharing from your perspective of your life trauma journey, and kind of like let's talk through it and bring us full circle to how you have become this amazing woman sitting before me right now. You're amazing, you're beautiful.
Thank you so much.
You're amazing, you're beautiful, you're inspiring. You are I look at you as a woman, like if I need a pickup, or if I need to be motivated about something, I just go to your page, or something that you've said or shared with me always takes me to that next level when I need that extra push. So, I know that you can be that for others, but let me stop talking. You talk about who you are.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because that is what I aim to do, and I'm trying to accomplish here. And I use the term coach as more of an umbrella, because I have different certifications under the coaching umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
So I consider myself to be a woman's life strategist, a confidence coach, an active lifestyle coach. And I've been doing that now, let's say, roughly almost 6 years.
I get real comfortable.
I know I was about to take my boots off, but I was like,
you can do whatever you want.
My pedicure tomorrow. So I've been building that umbrella, with different certifications and dealing with, working with different women of, different areas, whether it's health, whether it's confidence, whether it's life in general. So I created this platform, especially on, social media. As you say, you come to my page, most people will come there a lot of times and see a lot of working out, but it's so much, deeper than that. I'm a woman of a certain age now. And I'm a woman of a certain age. And, as we get to certain ages, things slow up. But that doesn't mean that we have to, and I don't think that we should, whether it be with our health, our careers, our love life, being a mom. I am a mom. I have 2 kids, amazing kids, children. 23 and 21. I am a wife as well, and I support, the endeavors of what my husband does, but, sometimes we have to branch out, and you have to do your own thing, because you are you.
We are individuals, and that's one thing I have been learning more and more and more as I'm y'all know I'm the old lady of the group, and I'm 50. So
she
53.
She goes sleep fast.
Yes, I do. I'm the old lady of the group. 53 years. It took me a long time to learn some of the things, about myself, and just because I'm married doesn't mean I'm not Terry. I'm still Terry.
Absolutely.
I'm not just Mrs. Long. I am really Terry.
Right.
And I got my own life, my own mind, my own shit that I need to do in my life. And I have my own dreams and goals and aspirations separate of being somebody's wife. So I get it.
But as women, as you know, a lot of those things for us, we put aside. We put aside, especially for our children. That's like number one, whether you got ballet, tap, football, soccer, all these different things. We dedicate our lives, but then, they move on. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes, unfortunately, once they move on, we forget what it is that we were meant to do. Mm-hmm. Or we feel that we're too old to do it, or we don't have the support system behind us to get it done. Yeah. So we just say, forget it. I'm just going to be this person's mother, I'm just going to be this person's wife, and I'm just going to do this 9 to 5 and forget everything that I ever dreamed of doing. So
God didn't want that for us.
Absolutely not.
No.
But as far as the trauma, like I was telling you earlier, we were talking, I said, most of the times I don't think you realize that you had trauma. Mm-hmm. Because you might kind of realized that certain things weren't right, but I know for me, I didn't realize that it was considered trauma until I was an adult. I knew that some of the things that were happening to me weren't appropriate or weren't right, or maybe everybody else wasn't going through it. But then as I am, growing up and I hear other girls tell their stories, I'm like, I wasn't the only one, so maybe it is normal. So how is this really considered a trauma? So my story is, I was born and raised by my grandparents. My mom had me when she was 17 years old, so I've always lived with my grandparents, born and raised in Southeast
DC. Okay, in this area.
DC, yes.
Okay, so shout out Southeast.
Southeast. Born and raised, right? And my grandparents, they were older, not the typical age grandparents of this day and age. I had real grandparents that were old people. Right. They were already in their 50s and 60s when I was born, so they were real grandparents. And however, my mother fell, I don't know if they use the term short, but she fell short, I guess, being a mom, and she got addicted to drugs.
And so back up, because people may be wondering, okay, so what about your dad when you were born in Southeast? So
my dad, couple years older than my mom.
He wasn't there.
He was, how do I say? He was a present but non-present dad. Like, I had a relationship with him when I was younger, and I always kept a relationship with his parents. Your paternal grandparents. They were always very supportive as grandparents and financial grandparents. I will put that there too. Okay. However, with him, it was a pick up and drop me off over there type of situation versus me really spending time with him. Right. Okay. So I kind of, as I grew up on my own choices, because my grandparents never steered me in the direction to have any ill will towards him. But as you grow older, you can see. I always tell everyone that, like, you don't have to bash a parent. They'll eventually figure out what it is. Yeah. So on my own, I kind of broke ties with my dad. Okay. But my mom was, let's just say she was in my life but wasn't. She was a come and go type spirit. And, she always had a place in our home. But she was on drugs. She was, on heroin for as long as until I graduated from high school. But
did you know what that was as a child?
Did I know?
Like, as a little girl, like, let's just say, I don't know, let's think about 10-year-old Thais. Take me back to, like, 10-year elementary school.
8. I can remember maybe 8 to 10, too.
Yeah, so that's even younger, elementary school.
Elementary
school. Did you know at that time, or did you just feel like, okay, I'm with grandma and granddaddy and my mom is doing what you did? Did you know, like, was you able to connect the dots as a child? My mom is on drugs. And that's why
I knew what I heard. Okay. I knew what I heard, and I knew that I didn't see her often, but it was weird because she would hold a job sometimes. Like, she would have a long-standing job and she would stay with us. Then she would lose the job, and then here she would come again. And in those times, while my grandparents were very protective of me, they didn't keep me from her. So she would come and get me, and I remember she had this a friend, the house that we would go over often. Whenever when she would come around, I would go with her there often. And I knew she was doing something wrong because we would go to this apartment, and the young lady also had a daughter. We were the same age, and they would go in the kitchen, and it would always be men there. Like, they would be like the only women. And it would always be like men would come, and they would always be in the kitchen, and we weren't allowed to go in the kitchen. So we wanted to talk to them, and we wanted their attention. If we had a question, we used to have to stand at this wall, and around the wall was a kitchen, and we had to stand at that wall and call their name for them to come out, And then I knew that there would be several times I come in, I would say, ask where my mother was, because they let us run rampant. Now, that was one reason I love to go over there, girl, because I can do what I want. Me and Pam, we ran the neighborhood, honey. We would go to our people's houses and go to the pool and all that stuff. We did whatever we wanted. So I would like to go over there, but when I would come back in the house, I'm like, where's my mother? Where's my mother? And they were like, she's in the back room, but you can't go back there. And I used to always be like, but I knew, it's like something's not right because the door is locked and I'm not allowed to go back there. And then, it would be times that when I would see her come out, she'd come out with, men or whatever. And I don't know if I knew what to call it then. I don't know if I knew that she was back there as the time
so what do you remember though? What you were thinking? Like, what was in your mind? Like,
I remember Pam was the one who, because her mom's house was the house, she probably knew more than what I knew. Right. So she was the one who would fill me in, like, they doing the nasty. They doing the nasty back there, and, things of that. So I just knew that, I would go to this place, but she never mistreated me. Never once, mistreated me, yelled, hit me. None of that. We would just go, spend the entire day there. And, I rarely saw her. And I never really saw her high. I didn't see my mom high until she was getting clean on methadone. Wow. I never saw her actually shoot up. I saw the actual, now, I did always see the paraphernalia. Okay. I've seen that, but I never actually saw her do it. No. I knew she had the marks. She had all the markings.
You knew what they were?
I knew when I got older. Once I kind of, heard enough, had been around enough, was going to this lady's house enough. Now as I'm getting older, it made like, why are you in this room with this man? But it got to a point where my grandparents wouldn't allow, I was getting too old. They wouldn't allow me to go because now I'm, becoming older and things are developing. However, those guys didn't care. It would be, it's been times, and that's something I don't share a lot, I guess I could say I haven't really shared at all, but there has been times that I was touched by these grown men. And I think like when you talk about the trauma, I'm like, I listen to other people and I'm like, well, I would say, well, I wasn't penetrated. Right. So it wasn't bad then. It wasn't.
Because so many of us went through it.
Yes.
And it was normalized.
Right.
Right. An older boy in the neighborhood, an older uncle, an older whoever, whatever type of older man was around us, young girls, they were thinking that it was okay to touch our JJs and touch our boobs and not cool.
No, not cool.
Not cool.
And, I never told my mom. Like, I never told her. One of the guys, like, so vivid, was this one guy. He came over all the time. He had a patch on his eye, and I will never forget his face. And I remember the story was that he was shot in the eye when looking through a peephole, right? And so he wore this patch. So I will never forget him because he touched me all the time.
It's not Slick Rick the Ruler, is it? It's not. Did he have an accent from England? Okay, no, y'all.
And he was probably about this tall. Like, he was really, really short. Right? Probably just enough to look in a peephole, I guess. Is that's short, right?
Yeah.
That's what I remember. I'm an adult now, but this is the vivid, what I see him vividly. He was short. Right. He had a patch on his eye, and he used to wear a brim hat.
Yeah, we don't forget that stuff.
You don't forget that stuff. And I remember the very first time was in Pam's room, and he was coming to get his coat off the bed, and we were sitting on the bed, and I didn't realize at that particular, the very first time, I didn't realize I was touched wrong because he was reaching for his coat. and his hand came across and landed in my lap, and it was, excuse me, I really didn't realize it that I did not catch it the first time.
You're a child.
No, exactly. I'm a child.
Right.
And I know, and I don't, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, I don't know, but it seems like every time I saw him after that, he would find a way to somehow touch or rub or, you know, and I don't know why I never told her though. And he was not the only one, but he was the most frequent one that I saw. But I never told her. And I think anybody affected with trauma is always a weird spot, right? Where, you know, when you think about it, like after you're over it or when you're talking about it, you're like, why didn't I tell?
Why didn't I?
But then if I told, that was going to take time away that I got to spend with my mom.
Yeah.
Right? I haven't seen her. And now she picks me up and she takes me to this place where someone is touching me. But if I tell her, first, is she going to believe me? Because he had told me, after it happened for a while, the touching happened for a while, he initially he never told me not to say anything. He didn't say don't say anything initially. Because it was always oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't, you know. And then it went to, you know, you don't tell your mom I touched you. She's not going to believe you. And so I never told. I never said this is what happens when we go to her house, because I knew if I did, that would take away. That was my version of mom and daughter time. Me and my mom did nothing else together. You know, my mom, you know, I don't remember my mom ever taking me to a movie, to a doctor's appointment, to the grocery store, any of those things.
You have none of those
childhood memories with my mom. None. But she would make her way to, and this kind of sounds bad, but she would make her way to anything celebratory, like a graduation, or when I was in school, I sang a lot. She would come to a performance here and there. So it seemed like she would always come around for celebratory moments where people could also celebrate her as being a proud, you have this daughter that's, you know, doing great, and congratulate her.
Are you her only child?
I was the only child. Okay. Yeah, I was the only child. And that on and off drugs went on for years, being married to different men. Well, she was only married to, she only ended up marrying one guy, but living with multiple different men.
And these are men who would obviously come in and out of your life too.
Yeah,
that's your mother.
Right. Well, depending on how long they last.
Right.
You know, like if they were one of the long-lasting relationships, then I might get that opportunity to meet them. But fortunately, I didn't have any, you know, situations with any of those men. It was just in this one particular at this particular house, and I buried that for years. You bury it because then you start to think that will identify you, you know. And I thought with my grandparents, I thought I had an amazing life. You know, I didn't realize we were poor. We were poor. You know?
Right, because you were living in it, and that's all you knew.
That's all you knew.
We know what we know.
That's why I say a lot of times you don't realize trauma until so many years later, when you're trying to figure out who you kind of, like, why am I this way? Or why am I so protective? Or why, you know, that was one of the things I said, you know, before even getting married, having children, or even thinking about it. As a young child, you know, as young girls as we do, we think about one day I'm going to be a mom.
Right, one day I'm going to be a mom.
And my thing was, when I'm a mom and I have a daughter, I never really thought about if I had a son, because I only know what it was like to be a girl without a mom, right? So my thing was, whenever I have a daughter, she will never know what it feels like to have not just an absentee mother, but a mother who's not present. Because a person can be right there and still not be present. That doesn't mean you have them. And that was, and I know that is what makes me have the mother I am today, you know. And some will say, like, you know, I have two, and they'll say, but you and Thailand are...
You and your daughter, right?
Me and my daughter are like... And it never was tended to be like... But I just knew what it was like to just grow up.
You were so determined to not allow your daughter to experience or feel what you experienced and felt.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And it has nothing to do with monetary anything, or, you know, things. I just wanted her to know that I'm always there. I'm her person. Whenever she needs, I'm your person.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I know that's what it comes from. It comes from, you know, and I still had the love of my grandparents. So it was still like I had a mother and father figure in my home, right? But they were still my grandparents. You still kind of know, you know. And
so they really pretty much raised you, right?
Oh yeah, you know, I
even through when you went to high school.
I stayed with my grandparents until I got married.
Okay.
I stayed living in the same house until I moved.
Now, what was the relationship with your mom and her mom?
My mom was a daddy's girl.
Okay.
My mom was a daddy's girl. From what I remember is that he wanted a boy. So she was a girl tomboy type thing. They had, my grandmother was very, very religious. Very, we were in church all the time. So my grandmother definitely did not approve of my mother's lifestyle. But she prayed for her. You know, she loved her. She prayed for her and prayed for her to get clean and everything like that. But my mom was a daddy's girl, and one of the things was my grandfather said, before I leave this earth, I want to see you clean. Because she had tried to get clean before by going to the methadone clinic. I'd have been to the methadone clinics, child, I could tell you.
Really?
Yeah, right up on, what's that? Over the Navy Yard area. That's where the methadone clinic used to be. And she would try to get clean and then slip. Then try to get clean and slip. But when he passed in 90, same year I graduated, he passed in 91. And that was the fire that lit her butt to get clean. Wow. But like I said, I never saw my mother high until methadone. Until she was trying to get clean. That's when I saw the nodding and things like that I didn't even know. I'm like, what is going on? I mean, I don't know if y'all ever seen anybody nod.
I have.
When they're high off of drugs like that. They are flexible.
Really?
Like she could like nod and her head could almost touch the floor. You be like, and my grandmother gets so nervous because my mother also used to smoke cigarettes, right? And she would have a cigarette and it would just be burning and she would be just nodding.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was my grandfather's passing lit the fire up under her butt. And she went through that methadone clinic and was finally clean.
How old were you?
I was a senior in high school, so I was 18. So I was 18. So what's odd and strange is that me and my mother were extremely close. We were very close, but close like sisters.
Not like mom and daughter.
Not like, I loved her immensely, but I can't say I loved her in a motherly way. Because I didn't have that. I didn't have her provide me that. So we were very close.
Did you ever have a conversation with her about it, Ty? No? No. Is she still alive?
No.
No.
So she passed in 2016 from all of the after effects of
the residual stuff.
She had hepatitis C. She ended up with liver cancer. No type of diabetes is in my family. They believe that all of her health challenges were a result of how she treated her body all those years. Yeah. Yes. So no, we never.
So you never got to ask questions like, like, Mom, like, what pushed you out there to even get started on drugs?
Oh, she would, and this isn't. I can say this because it's not really a secret, but a family member started her on. Introduced her to drugs.
Just, being fun, having fun.
They introduced her, and she was hooked. She got hooked.
Yeah.
I don't know of any instances of like possible overdose. Was there ever a time that there was a possible overdose? I don't know, to that extent, but I mean, I was, from all I can remember up until I was 18. That was her life. That was her lifestyle.
Wow.
And she got really sick in 2014. She got really, really sick, and she was resuscitated and everything. And she was married at the time, and by the time in this hospital stay, she ended up having to have rehab, and then it was like, I don't want to go back home. That was what she said. Now she still stayed at my grandparents' home because once she got clean, she took care. She was the caregiver for my grandmother who ended up with dementia in the past. She also was a caregiver of both of my children. She was an amazing grandmother. She was an amazing grandmother. And I wouldn't have had it any other way. She took care of both of them. And I don't know if that was her way of an apology. Yeah. That could have been her means of, I'm apologizing.
I'm going to make up for some of it.
For what I've done. But she took care of both of my children from birth till it was time for them to go to kindergarten. Both of them. Yes, and she did an amazing job. She was an amazing caregiver to her mom, to my grandmother. She took care of my grandmother, no complaints at all. But at the same time, years to pass, her health stopped. Those other things started to catch up. The hepatitis C, that tears your liver apart. And things started to catch up, and then my grandmother passed, and so then of course my kids are now gone. She doesn't have to take care of them anymore. So all of this active life she had, now she didn't have. She didn't do anything on her pastime. So when she got sick, she came to stay with us, and this is when I realized I was mad at her.
Really?
I was so mad at her. I was mad at God. I was mad at God because I thought it was so unfair to say that now I have to take care of a woman who didn't take care of me.
Did y'all hear that? That's important.
So angry. But the Bible says that we shall honor thy mother and father.
Yeah.
So I struggled with her sometimes being there, y'all, and I was mean sometimes. I would be mean sometimes, and but that's when before then I did not realize that I was mad at her. Like I said,
never got it out.
No, I never got it out. And because you taking great care of my kids, I'm like, you the best grandma ever, like what she was. And my kids absolutely adore her.
Yeah.
And still do. They absolutely, and they know her story. They know about Grandma Gail and drugs. Because to take your teeth, that was their thing. She was always saying, don't do drugs, you're going to end up with me, you're not going to have any teeth, right? And so I did not realize I was mad at her until she came to live with me.
And you had to care for her.
And I had to care for her. So irritated some days.
But look at the life cycle, though. Look how things happen. Like, what are the chances? You see how that reversed. She never took care of you the manner in which she should have as a mother. But then she ended up needing you to take
Yeah,
care of her.
Yeah. You never took me to one doctor's appointment, but I had to take you to all of yours. I had to go sit at the Social Security building. I had to go, get medication. And when she came out of the hospital, she had what's called neuropathy, where we had to go to a physical therapy so she could walk again. And I just was like, why do I have to do all of this? Mm-hmm. This woman didn't. So I thought it was so, I don't know. I was like, God, are you testing me? Like, is this a test? Because I'm going to fail.
But you didn't know, did you?
I didn't fail, but she did end up leaving from living with me to going to live with her brother because she said we left her alone. She was alone a lot.
Oh.
I had two young, my kids were still, much younger at the time. They were very heavily involved in sports
activities.
So we weren't home, and she didn't really want to travel with us because she felt like she had to carry too much with her. And so she did go to stay with her brother, who I, appreciated so much because they were home. She was the baby of her siblings, so they, were home. And but she fell sick again, and in that time, the doctors didn't want her to be alone at all. So she was even though she was still up talking, she could bathe herself, do different things with herself. We had to put her in a nursing facility.
Okay.
And that's where she stayed until her sickness got the best with the cancer, and she ended up forming sepsis. And that particular time when she went in the hospital, she said, I don't want to be, if anything happens, I don't want to be resuscitated or revived. I don't want you to take any type of measures. The day she went in, she passed that night. Oh. She was in, her stomach had swollen up so big, and she was in all this pain. And so we get to the hospital, and they said, well, this is what your mother has asked. We're letting you know that it is bad. And this is what she said to me. She said, Ty, it's bad this time. And I was like, no, we want to pray, because that's how I grew up. I pray on anybody tell you pray. I pray on everything. I come from a very praying family. My grandmama was, but she said, no, it's bad, and I'm in pain. And they explained it to me that they were going to do the morphine drip, and the more morphine they give her, it would slow her heart down, and she passed that night. And then I had to deal with this additional guilt. The guilt of being mad at her, not telling her I was mad. And now it was like I was never going to get to hear I'm sorry. I never got to hear that. That was the thing that I wanted to hear the most, was that I'm sorry. And she made mention to someone, another relative, that she didn't know why I was angry. And they told her that she should ask, but she never did. I found this out after she passed, that she made mention that Ty's angry with me, and I don't know why.
So do you think that your mom thought she was being a good mom all those years? Like, did she not know? And I asked that because, I don't know, I guess I'm thinking to myself, I would assume that my daughter might be mad at me.
I really don't know if she, I don't know if I ever gave her the impression that she wasn't a good mother. Mm-hmm. So if somebody is never told, do they know?
I don't know. That's why I was wondering, like, if you ever had to get a conversation with her to say, Mom, this wasn't cool. This is how I felt as a little girl.
No, I never had the conversation, and never told her about things that happened in the places she took me. But I was mad at her that those things happened to me in the places that she took me.
Right. But she didn't know.
She didn't know. But I I know that's like how you gonna be mad at somebody that you didn't even tell them?
I have. You'd be secretly mad.
Yeah, but I'm saying to myself, how could you not know? Like, how could you not know? That was my thought. Like, how could you not know? And after her death in 2016, that probably has been one of the hardest things, was to get over still being mad, and then this level of guilt that I felt that maybe I didn't treat her always as nice as I could have before she left. However, the day that she passed, I was at the hospital with her, and I got in the bed with her. I got in the bed with her, and I prayed, and I sang songs to her and held her, and was there with her until she took her last breath. And I let her know in that I let her know in that moment that it was okay. It was okay, but
you honored your mom.
Yeah, I did.
No matter what, no matter how you felt, you still honored her.
Yes.
And you didn't allow her to leave this earth without knowing that you loved her.
But I still have days when the guilt hits me that I kind of feel she might not know, or did I say it enough?
Did you tell her you love her?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time. So we have this saying, well, my mom created this saying with my son. They used to do this thing when they said goodbye, they would do pinky love.
Mm-hmm.
But she always says, I love you big as the sky. So any of my friends, anybody who's really close to me, they know, like, I sign my cards, I love you big as the sky. My kids know it because that's what she said all the time. So I carry that with me, and I know that, I told her. I know I told her over and over and over, but I always wondered, did she feel it?
Did she tell you she loved you?
Yes.
So you did hear
from
your
yes,
mom.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely heard, I love you.
Okay.
All
did
the
you
time.
believe her? Did you believe that your mom loved you in the way that she knew how?
I do. I do believe she loved me. I do. But I believe the addiction didn't allow her to always show the love.
Right.
But it was always said. It's always. It was never a question. It was always said. I didn't have to ask to hear it or anything like that. So I did get that from her,
Okay.
But
good.
Yeah.
Did your father ever enter back into your lifetime? Ever?
That is that one is, I don't understand. I do not understand how. And some may say I'm giving my mother more of a pass than him, because I don't see how. I don't even want to say just a father. I just don't see how a parent can just walk away or alienate their children. Just so happened he was my father, because I look at it as on both parents on both sides. I think the only reason why my mom gets a pass is because she was still there, and I saw her. I knew her. She knew me. She at least knew my favorite color if you had to ask. My dad, on the other hand, he ended up, he did have other children, which I did know. I had a short relationship with them growing up. But yeah, he showed back up when my grandfather passed. And he came to the funeral, and I put his ass out.
You did?
I absolutely did.
You were an adult at that time?
My grandfather died in 91, so I was 18. And matter of fact, he passed the week before me. He passed a week and a few days before my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So I was probably 18 by the time the funeral came, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I put him out, cussed him out, told him, my thought was, I dare you come now
Mm-hmm.
to pay respects. Is that what you call it?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I looked at it. To pay respect? No, where was the respect to thank this man for these last 18 years for raising your child?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that tells enough that no, after that I decided not to have a relationship with my father.
Okay.
Who has also passed.
Okay. Did you attend his services?
No.
No. Do you feel a way about that now?
No.
You still don't?
I don't. I was given the opportunity that he was sick
mm-hmm.
and he would like to see me.
Mm-hmm. And you said no.
No.
And you're okay with that?
I'm very much okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah. I declined and I didn't go to the service.
And you don't feel like you have a hole in your heart?
I do not have an ounce of guilt.
Okay.
For not attending. Someone asked me, did I love him?
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course I have love for him. He is part of my creator. Right? So I have love for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think anyone can love someone that they don't know.
They don't know. You didn't know him.
I don't know you. I know you are, they say you are my father.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know you enough to care, to have like any type of caring feelings for you. Not caring like I don't care about someone, but
right.
How can I care how can I care how you feel? How can I care what your thoughts are? I don't know you.
Know you.
So
he left when you were very young. Dude, this is probably
well, he passed after I was married with children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were way an adult.
Yeah, I was way an adult.
This may seem like a random question, but do you have any pictures of you and your dad?
I do.
You do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You still have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you ever look at it?
They're in my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I see them, but they don't cause any type of
No emotion. You have pictures of you and your mom?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't have enough of those.
Yeah.
We didn't take a lot of pictures, and I feel like I don't have enough to remember her by pictures, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have pictures of your mom with your children?
I do.
You do?
But not as old as what they were when she passed. Well,
mm-hmm.
Tylen has a picture with my mom in the nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
LJ does not. So the pictures that I have, they're much younger. She was much younger too, where she didn't look sick.
Mm-hmm.
But I do. I have pictures of her.
Thais, I knew that this journey was going to take me on a emotional type of thing. I'm just grateful for your transparency and your braveness. I don't imagine it's easy ever to sit and just go through all of those memories sometimes, you know. And so I'm grateful for that. There were some things that you shared about your journey that resonated with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, what brought me to tears was just thinking, just as a mother, I was just kind of imagining being in your shoes, you know, when your mom was transitioning and just everything that you had been through as a little girl and as a young adult, and all of those things that you didn't get from her, you still was able to embrace her on her dying bed and honor your mom. And I know God has to really, 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 really have you high on his list.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And I still always hope, like, she's like, you know, I want her to know that I loved her. I still love her. I understand, you know, therapy. I have an amazing therapist that, you know, has helped guide me through what my past life has to do with my current life and how I am to, you know, navigate that. So, I just, I still have days where I'm like, I hope she knows that that day that I was like kind of mean. I wish I could get it back.
Get it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could get it back.
It's okay though. I feel like you made up for it.
And redo.
I do. I feel like you made up for it, and you can't do a redo.
Yeah.
So
you don't get
to do it over again. So you definitely can't take that baggage with you as you're growing into your new realm, and to being Coach Ty, and to being this amazing, phenomenal woman. You've raised your children. You've been a wife for all of these years, and so your transition from trauma to triumph is really inspiring to see like how you have turned out, and all of the amazing things that you have, again, that you stand for as a woman.
Right.
It doesn't match up with someone who was raised by their grandparents to a drug addicted mom.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why while I have this platform, is to show you all that sometimes where you come from doesn't always have to mean how you end up. You know what I mean? And you come from a praying family, so God was apparently very, very instrumental in your journey. And He carried you through that.
Right. Because
you didn't have siblings.
No.
You know what I mean? So you didn't have
just the cousins that came to live with us.
Yeah. And you had amazing grandparents. Thank God for that. And look at you now.
Yes, thank God. Because I look at like everybody has a story. Yeah. Everybody has a story. But it's what are you going to do with it?
What you going to do?
Are you going to use that as your excuse to not make it, or are you going to use that as your reason to make it? So it's a whole lot of different paths that I could have gone. Just from what I've seen or what has happened. And then you choose not, to choose not to.
And that's why I say, your story is to me is another level of greatness, because I don't know how many of you are from the DMV watching, but Southeast, it's an amazing part of Washington D.C. But historically, Southeast was, it had parts where you don't even want to go over there.
I grew up on what was called the worst street in the District of Columbia when I was growing up.
See, that's what I mean.
Dre Place.
See, so on Dre Place in Southeast, and this little girl who went through all of those things, born, and your mom was on drugs, doing the best she could do based on that. Substance abuse doesn't allow a person to function at the level of capacity that they really could. So we understand that. But the point is, that doesn't have to be the ending of your story.
Absolutely.
Thais ended up getting married, having several careers. You've been a cosmetologist. You have done what else?
I've done cosmetology, taught cosmetology, traveled with artists, because I was a stylist for artists. I've been in healthcare.
Many years in healthcare, and now she's an entrepreneur. And now she's Coach Ty.
Yes.
And that's what you're going to be focusing on as you go into this next chapter of your life.
Absolutely.
And so before we wrap things up, can you just tell people a little bit about what Coach Ty is going to be offering? What can people look forward to? Make sure you, I've pinned the comment. She's on Instagram, Coach Ty. I am Coach Ty.
Yeah, am
Coach Ty.
Yeah.
And she's also on TikTok.
Yeah.
She does some amazing
challenges.
She's the person who first got me started with the jump rope challenge last year. And I remember a lot of you all were very inspired by seeing my fat ass trying to get them jumps in every day. But it really, it made a difference in my life, not from just a physical perspective. It challenged me mentally. It gave me discipline and consistency with something that I had never done. I remember Stan telling you, like, Terry has never stuck to anything.
Yeah.
And that's true. And but it was something about you and your energy and just just me looking at you, admiring you, that made me want to do it.
Well, for one, I'm a walking testimony because I know where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
I lost over 100 pounds, and it
Y'all
was
hear that? She lost over
I lost
100
over
pounds.
100 pounds, and that's where the whole Coach Ty generated first. I was my sidekick from working out, and it didn't start with me trying to do that. It started with me trying to hold myself accountable, and I felt like if I recorded myself, then I could be held accountable to work out.
Absolutely.
And it just took off. So.
Okay. Well, we
Yeah.
can look forward to more challenges from Coach Ty.
More challenges.
More challenges.
Absolutely more challenges. I'm doing sessions also, like to refocus and to, getting over your fears. Those sessions have been posting lately on Instagram.
Okay.
So I've been doing those sessions. Because it's all about the woman of our certain age. I mean, I'm not knocking women under our certain age, but
We popping.
We popping, and we want to stay
We want to stay popping.
And you want to be in a community of other women who can be like-minded and support you.
Yes,
in those things.
accountability partners.
You need someone to recharge you, refresh, and sometimes you just need another woman's perspective versus what the world tells you that you can and can't do.
I totally agree.
Because we're not just somebody's mama.
Right.
And we're not just somebody's wife.
No, we're not.
So.
We're not. We are
Absolutely
not.
Yeah.
We are our individual
Absolutely.
women, and God He made us to be. I do a call every day at 8:15 with a lot of women, and we are extraordinary women. God made all of us extraordinary women in our own ways.
Absolutely.
No two of us are exactly alike,
Absolutely.
but we all have something extraordinary to offer the world, and we should all tap into that. And we have women like Ty to help us with that. So make sure you all are following her.
Yes, please
as soon as this live ends,